Hey everybody, welcome to Ask Dr. Testosterone starring Dr. George Touliatos. Dr. Touliatos is the author of Bodybuilding, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. You can get that on his website, gtool.com, gtoul.com. Also available on amazon.com. He is a contributor every month to Muscular Development Magazine, has been a contributor to many other books and magazines. Welcome from Athens, Greece, Dr. Touliatos. How are you, sir?
Hello, Ron. It's been almost 1 month since we started the Testosterone series, and as a matter of fact, I received recently an email from editor of Muscular Development Magazine, Steve Bletchman, who says he's very satisfied to watch the Dr. Testosterone series, plus my column. So yes, I think this is a good idea to educate the masses and people about this taboo subject of steroid use and prevention mainly.
Yeah. We're getting a lot of, when we put these on YouTube, we get a lot of great comments. A lot of people are very, very grateful, very appreciative that you're providing this service and this information because, like I say every time, Dr. O'Connor, he's very knowledgeable. He's trying to keep people healthy and all that, but he can't really get into how drugs are used because he'd be in big trouble. But you have a different situation. You are able to talk to the bodybuilders and the powerlifters and the recreational lifters out there, and you're also a bodybuilding competitor yourself. You're a national champion a couple times over, so very well qualified to speak on the subject because you've walked the walk, talked the talk.
Yes.
So without further ado, we're going to start with a follow-up question from last week. We talked about HCG use, and the gentleman who asked the question, I guess he wanted a little clarification on something. So he says, for the HCG question, I'm well aware that HCG potentially reestablishes fertility during TRT while used. I can't and don't want to use it all the time. It's hard to get here. But I have used it sporadically once a year for 5 weeks, 250 IU every second day to send a signal to the testicles once a year and remind them of their function. This was suggested to me by a seasoned bodybuilder. I have no idea if this routine, once a year, 5 weeks with HCG, enhances my chances of being fertile in 5 years. I will use HCG plus HMG then in 5 years. So in contrast to never using HCG until then, what are your thoughts on this protocol?
Well, according to this guy, he cannot use it. I mean, he cannot have access all the time to HCG because it's very hard to get it.
Yeah.
So if he is potentially using this occasionally, I suggest him to combine HCG with HMG plus vitamin E, which is tocopherol, in high amounts. So let's say 800 IUs with breakfast because it's a fat-soluble vitamin, in order to enhance spermatogenesis and Sertoli cells function. And also to measure his seminal diagram and spermatocytes, how many are per ml. So he has to be over 2 million per ml.
Wow.
And if you take consideration that each ejaculation is about 3 mLs, so he has to be above 60 million in order to be fertile, the least. But also fertilization is a matter of chances, of course. It's very productive under ovulation state of women. And yes, you have to control your ejaculation before ovulation, in order to increase the volume of a sperm. So let's say to avoid sexual intercourse or masturbation for 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
But yes, mainly this is the protocol we use, plus occasionally we use proviron, which is supposed to increase FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, which is responsible for spermatogenesis.
Okay. I'm glad you said the average amount of ejaculation is 3 ml, because if guys watch too much pornography, they would think the average is about 30 ml, because that's what you usually see in the movies.
I'm sure this is a fake.
Special effects, CGI.
With HCG, you increase the volume of the testicles, therefore also the semen is increased.
Okay, let's get into some new questions. Okay, doctor, next question I have for you, new question is, Is there a way of dosing clenbuterol that you have found to be better than others? Because, you know, we have so many theories about how to do it. Taper it up, taper it down, do this many days on, this many days off. And, you know, we did a show, myself and Dr. O'Connor last week about it, and it didn't answer that question because he can't answer that question. I've always wondered myself, I actually came up with this question. Is there a better way to use clenbuterol so that your body doesn't get used to it and you get the maximum fat burning results?
Yes, I watched this video of yours with Dr. O about clenbuterol hydrochloride. And what Thomas O'Connor mentioned was correct, is that there is a saturation receptors, and users of clenbuterol get accustomed to the doses, therefore they have to increase. And there comes Zadifen or ketotifen, which is also a familiar drug, that it's able to unlock the receptors and make more usable the clenbuterol. Now, this is potential dangerous, of course, because if we taper over the dose, all the stimulants are very nasty and they're very capable of doing stroke and acute myocardial infarction. They're very dangerous drugs because they can potentially kill you in a heartbeat, unlike steroids that in the long term they have the side effects. So it is a very nasty drug because it increases systolic pressure to the brain, that in case of a heavy squat can do a rupture and an aneurysm in the brain and cerebral hemorrhage, and also vasoconstriction in the coronary arteries that leads to ischemia and myocardial infarction, or ventricular tachycardia, which is speed of the heart rate because of catecholamines and adrenaline epinephrine release. So what I also state in what I write down in my book is 2 days on, 2 days off, because the half-life of clenbuterol is 36 to 48 hours. Therefore, in order to get the rid of the system, you need about 2 days. So Monday, Tuesday, use clenbuterol, and Wednesday, Thursday, do not use clenbuterol. The other 2 days that you are not using clenbuterol, you may use Ecastac or something else, or a fat-burning supplement. But to me, do not combine a fat-burning stimulant with clenbuterol because it's very dangerous. And also, yes, some people use it 21 days and then they cut it. But after a couple of days, you get used to the initial dose. Therefore, if you go from 40 micrograms to 80 micrograms, it may be acceptable. If you go over 120 micrograms, and some people use it almost 200 micrograms, this is very dangerous. You have to control your blood pressure. You have to know if you have a calcium score, if you have a left ventricular hypertrophy, and be very aware and cautious with stimulants. Clenbuterol is a very nasty drug that personally I had this feeling back in the neck. It was a pressure back in the neck which reflects on the blood pressure. It was very nasty, and plus my temporal lobes were pumping, you know, from the
throbbing.
Yes, very nasty, and I was sleeping. I could hear my heartbeat pumping. You know, it's very.
It's scary.
That feeling, yes.
So if you're only using it 2 days on, 2 days off, as you suggest.
Yes, but the first week you may use. I suggest to my patients to use, for instance, 1 pill, which is 20 micrograms. The second week, use 40. The third week, use 60, up to 80. Then, personally, I have done tragic things that I have gone up to 160 micrograms, but I do not recommend. I was foolish back then. I do not suggest. And besides, you cannot kill the fat just by clenbuterol. It raises the metabolism of 20%. Wow. You're going to use diet, you're going to use steroids, you're going to use growth hormone, you're going to use weightlifting, anything in combination, but do not just eat junk and take thyroxine or clenbuterol or ephedrine. It doesn't work this way, or even DMP.
We'll talk about DMP some other time. So in that case, would you have someone do 20, 40, 60, 80, and then would they stay at 80 for the remainder of however long you're going to be on clenbuterol?
No, you have to cease the use of the clenbuterol because there's no point to use it over a month, for instance.
Okay. Yeah.
And also, yes, check your blood pressure because it's going to be dangerous, both the systolic and the diastolic. Yeah. Also, mind that clenbuterol, it's potentially heart toxic. It causes degeneration to the cardiocytes, and also it can lead to left ventricular hypertrophy simply because it increases blood pressure.
Wow.
This is a reactive mechanism.
I'm glad you said all that because
atherosclerosis, because the blood vessel get more fragile as blood pressure increases.
Yeah, because a lot of people were saying after the O'Connor video last week that we did that he was overstating the dangers and trying to scare people.
Clenbuterol, ephedrine, thyroxine, and amphetamines, plus insulin and diuretics can kill you in a heartbeat.
Wow. Yeah.
Unlike steroids that allegedly they kill you in several years. Okay.
You might take 20, 30 years to kill you.
You don't mess up with stimulants, diuretics, and insulin.
Right. Okay. Here's a good one. We're talking about trying to stay safe. Someone wanted to know, doctor, how should you control your HDL and LDL or maintain a great lipid profile when using PEDs? Is there a way to do that?
Yes, this is a good question. Actually, this is my field where comes prevention along with steroid use. Now, HDL is very stubborn and does not listen very well. All-time classic is low-pace cardio, which is walking, 70% of maximum heart rate. Second is quit smoking because nicotine lowers HDL. The third is to use niacin. There are some data that increases niacin to 20%. Flashing niacin, not the non-flash niacin. Okay. Also, there are some papers that give some credit to krill oil, which is oil coming from shrimps, and it has some antioxidant like astaxanthin that prevents the oxidation of the lipids. Also, estrogenic profile coming from phytosterols that are phytoestrogens. Okay, Bill Welling has a certain product in his brand that has some phytoestrogen inside. Also use EFAs, essential fatty acids. Okay, good fats. Avoid trans fat, avoid refined sugars, and avoid occasionally saturated fat when you combine with simple carbs.
Okay.
And of course, eat clean, plenty of fiber, and a slight sip of red wine with meals may improve. There are also some other agents like resveratrol, which is a potent polyphenol and it's potent antioxidant that helps cardiovascular profile. Q10, coenzyme Q10. Yeah. And also, yes, let me think. Anyway, these are important facts.
Yeah. You just gave a whole list of great things that they can start using in conjunction. So good job. Here's a good one. Do you recommend taking pharma grade RHGH? That's the same as HGH, right?
Growth hormone, yes.
Okay, pre-workout or post-workout? Also, if pre-workout, is it okay to take the HGH with the pre-workout meal? I heard HGH is best taken on an empty stomach to avoid interactions with insulin.
Yes, the last point is correct. Now, personally, I was very suspicious and prejudiced with non-pharmaceutical grade products, drugs and medications. And also, of course, there is a way to measure down to evaluate if this particular growth hormone is legitimate by measuring IGF-1, which is the peptide insulin-like growth factor that is released from the liver when you use exogenous growth hormone. So growth hormone releases IGF-1, and IGF-1 has a half-life of 20 to 30 minutes. Therefore, my suggestion is half an hour after you use your growth hormone, you may be able to draw blood and see how high IGF-1 goes. But also this can be up, can stay high also the day after. If you use growth hormone for 1 month, then you're going to have your blood levels, your GH levels within your blood, and then this is also able to be measured the day after you stop, for instance, your growth hormone. But this window of 30 minutes, in order not to combine carbs and insulin, that will hinder the growth hormone, because growth hormone and insulin are both anabolic, but they have the different pathways. You need low insulin to increase your growth hormone, and when insulin increases, your growth hormone production lowers. Therefore, you have to wait 30 minutes in order to consume a meal with carbs. Yeah. Also, in order to enhance this growth hormone metabolism, you have to be fasted. So in low insulin and high glucagon state. And yeah, so what are the possible timing within the 24-hour days? First thing in the morning. Yeah. So you wake up, you shoot GH. You may have a bath and shave and whatever, or then do a cardio within 30 minutes, and then you eat your breakfast. Yeah. And right after your workout, that you were already fasted before you go to the gym, for instance, 1 hour, yeah, plus another 1 or 2 hours of training, then your blood sugar is going to be low, and this is the ideal timing to shoot GH before you consume your meal.
Well, you're going to have to wait 30 minutes before you have your meal,
yes,
or your shake with the
yes,
carbs. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. So but having it with a meal would be a very bad idea.
Excuse me? Having
GH with a meal, especially a carbohydrate-rich meal, would be a pretty bad idea.
Well, listen, I had this debate with Dave Palumbo, yeah, on RX Muscle, and he believed that this occurs with endogenous GH. If you shoot exogenous, it's not a big deal. Oh. But what my point is that we know already that GH induces diabetes. So if you're gonna favor this and you're gonna flirt with diabetes more, in case the blood sugar is already high. Okay, so that's why my point is, in order to avoid glycemia and insulin resistance, let GH to work in a low sugar level. Do not trigger for glycemia. Okay, and as a matter of fact, you have to understand that in first place, GH does fat burning. If you in low doses, and this is why we get leaner by fasting, because during fasting GH is released. GH, in order to make gains, it needs to IGF-1 to be released, and when this happens in high doses, okay, so the gains out of GH comes through the IGF-1 in higher doses of GH. Okay. Yeah. Anti-aging and fat burning, and it's safer for cellular proliferation, is under low doses of GH when mTOR is not so much stimulated, or ribambicin.
So are you saying that having GH with a meal is probably going to hurt your chances of making gains from that GH, making muscle gains? No? Sorry.
You have tried. Personally, I have tried both. Okay? But I measure my IGF-1, and I use around 5 units, and always my IGF-1 is twice the highest upper range.
Okay, gotcha. Next question: is there a way to not get AAS, induced hypogonadism after long-term use, or it's just luck? Could low-dose HCG with AAS prevent Leydig cells to become dysfunctional / senescent? So yeah, is there a way to stop that from happening?
This helps a lot if you shoot HCG along with steroids, a tiny amount once a week, or a very small amount every day or every other day. This you keep testicles on, and also testosterone production. It makes easier for the PCT to work better, even better. Also, but there was Rich Piana who said that you mess the system and you click on with PCT and you shut off with AAS use. So if you do them both, it's kind of mixed. And so Rich Piana suggested that use for good PCT and HCG afterwards, after AAS are discontinued. But through the TRT I'm using, I used to shoot HCG on a daily basis and on a weekly basis, of course, for 2 years in a row, and I managed to triple my spermatocytes in order to freeze my sperm, and improve my fertility. But I don't believe that somebody who's using continuously the steroids, non-stop, or even every year does cycles, will will manage to not to become hypogonadic. We have to consider also the andropause that happens after 35 or 40, that testosterone declines 1% per year. Anyway, he will decline. After a PCT doesn't mean that we reach our testosterone like it was before. My patients complain that they have never reached the levels they before each cycle. Okay. Personally, my testosterone before I started using steroids at 25 years old was about 600, 500, which is something very high. Okay.
Yeah.
And at the age of 30, 32, it was about half of it. With repeated PCTs, I was always following a PCT, but doesn't mean that PCT is going to save you from disaster. Yeah. I think it's going to make things easier between the two cycles, but personally believe it's inevitable. One day you're going to end hypogonadic, even if not secondary hypogonadic, primary, and you're going to not survive with this low testosterone, which is supposed to be normal levels, as some docs believe.
Okay, so yeah, that's delaying the inevitable. That's the phrase I've heard.
I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
Next question: what are the risks that are associated with running other prescription drugs like benzos, Xanax, Klonopin, and painkillers like Percocet, oxycodone while on a cycle of anabolics? Bad idea?
I was myself addicted to codeine from heavy squats and hip joint pain. And I was using about 60 milligrams of codeine in order to cover my pain, my lumbar pain, and also my hips, my hip joints. It's not a good idea because all the benzos and the opiates suppress the respiratory center, and basically you can die while you sleep. This is what happened to Heath Ledger. Was using, when he was playing The Dark Knight, he was using these opiates in order to be able to sleep and kill the pain. But eventually you suppress so much your respiratory center in the brain, and then you pass away. Also, we have to remember Paul De Mayo, who was using also opiates. He started from Nubain, which is synthetic morphine, and then he went to heroin. And I think, as I believe, he was not using heroin because he was a junkie. He was a bodybuilder and a quadzilla. But maybe it was an easy substitute to morphine, the heroin.
It's actually a lot cheaper than morphine.
Yeah, and you just OD and that's all. Yeah. You don't need something else. Yeah,
I'm here not far from where that happened in Boston, and it's an epidemic here. We have deaths. Even in the small towns, every day people are dying from opiate addiction, and yeah, it's just one opiate.
And also, I think Michael Jackson also had the same problem, and Elvis Presley also. I mean, there are people that they want to sleep as well, and they use opiates like candies,
Right. And they're easy to get. They're not hard to get.
There are docs who prescribe under the table,
Of course, yeah. They call them. They have those whole. They call them pill. What do they call them? Pill factories or pill farms, or there's like clinics that all they are is just to get prescriptions to people. Pill mills, that's what they're called. There's nothing legitimate going on at those places. It's all illicit prescriptions. Okay, final question. I guess we are talking about DNP today. I'm against the use of DNP while also using T3 and Clen. What are your thoughts about how some bodybuilders use all three, and what are the health risks using DNP, T3, and Clen all at once?
This is crazy. First of all, you have to be really desperate in order to use all this stuff in order to get lean, okay? As I told before, you have to do empty cardio, low carbs, of course steroids, growth hormone, these burn fat as well. And stimulants, you have to use them very cautiously because they can kill you in a blink of an eye. Now, what is different with DNP is that it interferes with cellular metabolism and mitochondrial function. Now, mitochondria are the powerhouses of the cell. This is where energy is produced. So mitochondria are overstimulated, and energy production takes place in these particles within the cytoplasm. And actually, the core temperature increases, and you have a fever. Now, this is not an fibrous cause is controlled by hypothalamus, but it is not accompanied with adrenaline or epinephrine rush that happens with adrenergic sympatheticomimetic stimulants like ephedrine, clenbuterol, amphetamines, or thyroxine. These stimulants, the classic stimulants, induce catecholamines release. Therefore, DMP is supposed, from people who use it, to be safer in terms of heart rate and blood pressure. But I knew a guy who sold and he was using also, he was a dealer of DMP and he was using, and he said that, the rumor said that he was sleeping under the air conditioning on the floor, and he was doing cold showers every hour.
Wow.
And Peter Van Moll, who was a great guru, the big cat, who was writing in bodybuilding.com.
Yeah.
He was from Belgium. He was using DMP himself, and he told me that it was supposed to be safer than clenbuterol T3, Ecastac, or whatever, or amphetamines. But I don't believe that this drug that started as a phytochemical, which is something for plants, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a poison, and it was accidentally scientists finding out that animals that ate accidentally DMP would plants that were
Sprayed with it.
yes, exactly, they were losing body fat and body weight. But this is a poison, right? I mean, it has no place to drug use and to sports.
Yeah.
It sounds like Dr. Hulk, right?
Yeah. I mean, what I hear from people who try to defend it is, well, if you take it, it's only the people that they take too much of it or they don't know how to take it. Those are the ones that get hurt. But I think any substance where the margin for error is that slim, where if you take just a little bit too much, or if your pills aren't dosed right, and you can get seriously harmed or die.
Yeah.
Why would you even bother? Why?
Exactly, yes. There was a rumor that a very famous IFBB pro of the 90s used it in order to get lean after he did a contract with a very famous supplement brand, and he was the first to use it in the late 90s. Wow. Anyway, I do not suggest, I do not recommend it, and I believe it has no place to sports industry. Okay. And it's for lazy people, in few words.
Yeah, well, we just got a lot of lazy people mad at us, Doctor. That's okay.
There are no as Arnold said, there are no shortcuts.
Yeah, well, unfortunately these days, people want shortcuts. People are lazy, but,
And maybe they do not love the sport, they're not original fans of the sport.
No.
They're potentially, I call them the beach boys.
Say beach, like going to the beach, or bitch?
Yeah, the first one, but, to be a lover and a hot guy, but do not. I mean, you have to follow the bodybuilding lifestyle 24/7, 365.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, that has been another excellent edition, Doctor, of Ask Dr. Testosterone, starring this man, Dr. George Touliatos. Remember to go to gtoul.com, his website. Lots of great information on there. You can also get a copy of this book, Bodybuilding, the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. Tons of great information in there. 90% of the things you want to ask the doctor, they're in that book. Just read the book and you'll have all the answers. Dr. Touliatos, thank you so much for doing this once again. Keep the great questions coming, people. We appreciate it. And, Doctor, we appreciate you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll see you next time.